recruited by Sir Okey, Ofili, MNI. Then he was permanent secretary in the Directorate of Establishments and Pensions. It is my honor and privilege today now as chairman of Administrative Officers Forum to welcome him to the podium to deliver the paper, Who is an Administrative Officer? Please be on your feet to welcome him to the microphone. Let's put our hands together, standing ovation as he takes to the podium.
Head of Service, permanent secretaries here present, members of the Executive of Administrative Officers Forum, and very distinguished participants. I am delighted to be in your midst this morning because standing before you gives me a kind of feeling which I had many years ago when I was at this stage you are now in your career as a civil servant. And I want to say that I wish you all the very best, and that those of us who ended up being permanent secretaries or heads of service started the way you started. So there's nothing fantastic about us. We started like you. Some of us were afraid, like some of you are afraid now. Some of us were also shy, like some of you are shy now. And some of you were, and some of us at that time did not know how we will end up in our career. But one thing we never thought of was that, we will end up being permanent secretaries. It never crossed our mind. The important thing we had was that we had a career and we were doing what we wanted to do. So my question before I deliver my lecture is, do you still have any regrets being an administrative officer? Are you still looking out elsewhere? Are you still wishing that you were something else? Okay, I'm happy with your answer. All of them is in negative. So by the grace of God, you will all be very good administrative officers, and the sky will be the limit. So in rendering my lecture, I am presuming that you are doing what you want to do. You have no other regrets, you have no other expectations, and you are interested in working in the civil service. In other words, you don't want to become a shell worker or a bank worker. Is that correct? With this mindset, I am sure that you will go very far. Before I go to the lecture proper, that an administrative officer is an officer who is monitored more in the civil service than any other category of officers. Why do I say this? I say this because one, the head of our cadre is the head of service. Secondly, as deployed or centrally deployed officers, you move from ministry to ministry. Is that not so? So today you are in Ministry of Works. The PS Ministry of Works is seeing how you are performing. Next year, next 2 years, you are in the Office of Head of Service. Head of Service is monitoring you. Next 3 years, you are in Ministry of Health. PS Health is monitoring you. The following day, you are in establishments is monitoring you. CS, Chairman, CSC, and everybody is monitoring you. Now, this is unlike an engineer whose tenure begins and ends in Ministry of Works, or Ministry of Transport, or Ministry of Energy, where engineers are employed. He is monitored only by the permanent secretary of that ministry. Now, this has an advantage for you as an admin officer. If you are a bad officer, there is no way you will survive in the civil service, because the head of service will have that impression of you. All the PSCs you have worked with will have that impression of you. And when you are about to be promoted, everybody is saying Mr. X is a bad officer. Will you be promoted? Unlike your colleague who is in the Ministry of Works, for instance, only the PS Ministry of Works knows about him. If he is a bad officer, for instance, only the PS Ministry of Works will be saying so. The other PSCs who do not have an idea of the capacity of that officer will not say anything. Is that not so? And at the end of the day, he is likely to be given the benefit of the doubt. But for you as an administrative officer, nobody is going to give you the benefit of the doubt, because many people have assessed your performance. Is that okay? When you were working in the service and moving from one ministry to the other. Now, who is an administrative officer? Administrative officers work in almost every organization. Whether it is in a hospital, we have people who do administrative work there. And they may not be called administrative officers, but they are doing administrative work. Whether it is in the bank, all the people who work in the bank are not bankers. We have people who do administrative work. Whether it is in the judiciary, all the people who work in the judiciary are not judges. We have people who do administrative work. And so, in some establishments, people who are doing this same job that you are doing are known as administrative officers. In other places, they are personnel officers. In other places, human resource personnel. In other places, office managers, registrars, hospital administrators. But in Delta State civil service, and in most civil services of the Federation, people like you are known as administrative officers. And administrative officers occupy positions from grade level 08 to 17. You start your career as administrative officer grade level 08 and end up as director grade level 17. Now, as the earlier speakers have said, as an administrator, your functions include planning. You are defining the organizational goals. You are organizing, structuring resources effectively. Staffing. You are managing staff, promotion of staff, welfare of staff, discipline of staff. All those fall within your purview as an administrative officer. Directing. You lead activities. You coordinate the activities of the various departments. You report. When you are reporting, you are making sure that documentations are well kept. And of course, budgeting, controlling finances. Now, before now, the position we used to have in the civil service, which is the next position to that of a permanent secretary, is Secretary for Administration, Finance and Establishment. We call it SAFE. As administrative officers, you are in charge of the administration, you are in charge of finance, you are in charge of establishments. But in recent times, we have been struggling with our accountants, and we have gradually lost the finance duties that we used to perform as administrative officers, and all these duties are now provided or performed by accountants. There's an advantage to that, there's also a disadvantage in that, but we'll come to that later. Before we proceed, I want to say that this seminar is a well thought out one, and it is important that at this early stage of your career, you are being introduced to the nuances of your new role as an administrative officer. Before now, many of you were in other areas of specialization in the civil service, but you were not admin officers. And today, your circumstances have changed. And to live up to expectation, your attitude must change, your perception must change, your commitment to duty must change, because in the civil service we believe that there is no room for any error to be made by an administrative officer. You must know everything and do everything properly. And of course, for all of you here, none of you is starting from the lowest rung of the civil service. Is there any of you on the level 8 here? No. 9? There's no 9? 10? 12? Okay. So you are already by your present level of attainment expected to have been well steeped in the norms, rules, and regulations of the civil service. Now, who is an administrative officer? An administrative officer in the Delta State Civil Service is any officer, any employee in the administrative officer cadre. Is that okay? So all of you are in the administrative officer cadre. And the officers in that cadre, like I said earlier on, are officers between grade levels 08 to 17 in the administrative officers cadre. Now, these are the various ranks in the administrative officer cadre. You start from the rank of administrative officer 2, grade level 08, progress along the line, and get to the position of director, grade level 17. Now, for most of you here, you did not start as an administrative officer grade level 08. Is that not true? Depending on the level in which you were before you transferred. If you transferred as a clerical officer, for instance, you will start on grade level 08. If you transferred as an officer on grade level 9, we will step you down. Will any of you step down here? So you will start on grade level 08. If you are transferring as an officer on grade level 10, we will step you down by 1 grade. You will start on grade level 09. But the system is very equitable. In stepping you down, what do? We make your salary personal to you. Is that not so? So you will occupy an office of grade level 08, for instance, and earn the salary of grade level 09. But the catch is that your next promotion, you are not going to grade level 10 now. Your next promotion will be to grade level 9. Am I communicating? Yes. So if you entered on grade level 08 with salary grade level 9 personal to you, your next promotion will be to administrative officer grade 1, grade level 09. Is that okay? So it's important to make this explanation so that you don't inundate the office of the head of service with petitions that you have been maltreated, that you are any grade level 09. As a salary personal to you, it wasn't because you were really a grade level 09 officer. We just didn't want your income to drop. But as the year progresses, you will pay for that. Now, how do we enter into the administrative officer's cadre? Method of entry. Now, in the Delta State Civil Service, that other than graduates with a minimum qualification of a first degree, no other officer can be an administrative officer in the Delta State Civil Service. So I want to presume that all of you here have a minimum qualification of a BSc or BA, or you had HND plus a diploma. Is that correct? Minimum. Some of you may have master's degree now, but that's not our area of focus. So is there anybody here who doesn't have at least a BSc or a PA or a HND and a diploma to support it? Is there? So if you don't have that qualification, you cannot be an administrative officer. And if you have smuggled your way through, you can see what is happening now. We are screening civil servants. Is that not so? If you smuggle your way through, and after 2 years we are screening you, and we find out that you don't have the basic qualification, of course you will pay the price for that. Now, it is not enough to get a first degree to become an administrative officer. You must also pass ASCON. Is that not so? And then you will also attend series of interviews conducted by a panel of assessors and also by the Civil Service Commission. Depending on your performance, you will now be appointed as an administrative officer. It is not a guarantee that if you have this degree, you pass ASCON, you attend interviews, you taught or you think you passed, that you must be appointed an administrative officer. You can also be given other appointments other than an administrative officer if it is adjudged that your performance was not good enough to upgrade you to an administrative officer. Now, as much as possible, we think it is advisable that nobody should transfer to the administrative officer's grade beyond the grade of level 10. This is because we believe that after grade level 10, the next post you are going to is a grade level 12 position, which is quite high in the civil service. But we are not sure that if you come in at grade level 10, that after 3 years, you would have been quite proficient in your duties as an administrative officer. So we don't encourage people to transfer beyond salary grade level 10. That is not to say that it cannot happen in special circumstances. Now, beyond conversion to administrative cadre, they can also put out an advertisement for officers to be employed on grade level 12 and above. But I want to say that this is just in the scheme of service as a decoration. Because throughout my years in the civil service, I have not seen us applying for advertising or putting out advertisements for people to come in on grade level 12 and above. What we normally do is for people to come in on grade level 8. The reason being that our own people who came in on grade level 8, grade level 9 are also growing. And we should allow them to grow to grade level 12 and so on, instead of advertising and bringing people from outside the civil service. Now, having been converted to administrative officers, stating the obvious, you now belong to the administrative officer cadre. Are you confused about that? You know where you belong. You are centrally deployed officers from the office of the head of service. You are aware of that. As administrative officers, you are all staff of the office of head of service. Is that okay? But all of you here cannot be in the office of head of service. And I told you that irrespective of the purpose of any organization, administrative officers are required. So what happens? The head of service now deploys you to various ministries, departments, and agencies of the government. You are a generalist, you are not a professional. And you are a generalist because you perform diverse functions, multiple functions. This is different from saying that you're a jack of all trades. You are not a jack of all trades, because what follows a jack of all trades is that you are a master of none. You are a generalist in the sense that all kinds of matters can come to your table. Whether they have legal implications, financial implications, technical implications, statistical implications, whatever they have. What we expect you to do as an admin officer is that you don't sit on your desk and begin to treat a matter with engineering requirements that you don't have an idea of. What do? You refer the matter first of all to the Ministry of Works or Ministry of Justice or Ministry of Health, depending on the area concerned, to get their inputs before you now handle the matter. So there is no matter you cannot hide, you cannot handle, but most importantly, you cannot do it on your own because you don't know everything. You have to get required information from everybody, and that's why they say as an admin officer, you must be a team player. Don't sit down on your desk and take decisions. Areas where you need to consult, please do not hesitate to consult to get the required information. But most importantly, what is required of you, as has been stated by earlier speakers, is that your attitude to work must be right. Your comportment must be excellent. You must be punctual to work. Your dressing should be top-notch. Your productivity should be high. Discipline and depth of your knowledge in the processes, rules, regulations, and traditions of the civil service should be impeccable. Some of you might be wondering in your mind, what is so special about saying all these things? Why don't these things apply to other professionals in the civil service? They apply, but the fact is that you are the role models. You are the ones that will caution people who are not well dressed. If a query is going to be written to an officer who is not well dressed, who is going to write it? The admin officer. And then the admin officer himself is not well dressed. When we are disciplining officers for wrongdoing, who will initiate the action? And you admin officer, you are not disciplined. So what we are saying is that you cannot give what you don't have. So if you're a bad dresser, if there's anything like that, if you don't dress properly, and your PS says, please issue a query to Mr. X for not dressing well, will you do it with conviction? You will not do it because you don't appreciate what it means to dress well. You don't appreciate what it means to be disciplined. And of course, we say you must be the encyclopedia of the rules, regulations, and traditions of the civil service. Who will know, for instance, that an officer on grade level 08 is entitled to 30 days working leave? Is it the engineer or you? You. The engineer will just apply, I want to go for leave. He may not even know, he may say he wants to go for 60 days leave. If you don't know the rule, what will you do? You will recommend it. Is that not so? But if you know the rule, you will now say no. As a level 8 officer, you are not entitled to 60 days leave. You are entitled to how many days leave? Yes. So you are the people who are going to implement the norms, processes, and traditions of the civil service, and we demand of you to be exemplary. Is that okay? As admin officers for the jail, please you must appear in suits. So for those of you who are here today, on just shirt and tie, you have not done well. Worse still, you knew that the head of service, who is your head of cadre, is going to be present at today's event. And how dare you appear before your head of service improperly dressed? If you put on a coat without a tie, you are not properly dressed. I hope you will be well guided. These are some of the requirements. And if the head of service does not want to give you people today as Christmas Day, all of you who are not properly dressed will be asked to go home and change. So you must be aware that much is expected of you. It is not for nothing that you are calling on the elites or elites or elites of the civil service. It is because of the kind of profound duties we perform. That is why we are so considered. If you are an engineer, for instance, and you came in with, what do I say now? You came in with jeans and t-shirts, we may allow you to stay in the office because you may have an excuse to say, we are going to site today to inspect a project. But can an admin officer give that kind of reason? We can never give that kind of reason. So who then is an admin officer? Let me quote from Augustus Adebayo in his book. I am directed at pages 39 to 40, when he said, the administrative cadre is like a cult in the civil service. Now, we are not using that word cult in a pejorative sense. We are using it in a good sense. Because even all the members of a Christian denomination can be described as cult members. What we are talking about using that word cult is that there should be fellowship, brotherhood, love amongst you. He went on to explain further that there is a sense of brotherhood among them, a feeling of common faith and common destiny. Members of the administrative cadre stick together in defense of their rights and regard themselves as the elites of the civil service. They are meticulous about their dress. So we are not the ones emphasizing it now. Augustus Adebayo was an old pre-civil servant. And civil servants then were dressing very well. Not to talk of this our era, this era of Gen Z and technology. And he went on to say that it is unheard of to see an administrative officer appear with an open neck shirt at the office. It is even yet more preposterous to see an administrative officer dressed in incongruous combination like a blue jacket on a brown shirt and green trousers. Yeah? That is color riot. In some cases, in one seminar I went to in my days in the civil service, they also said that it was wrong for an admin officer to wear up and down. And many of us were wondering, what is up and down? He said the lecturer told us that he was referring to men. Up and down means, yes, you want a coat, you want a trouser, but your trouser is black and your coat is yellow. Call that one up and down. That as much as possible, your coat and your trouser should be of the same what? Very good. Should be of the same color. So, what we are trying to tell you today is that as administrative officers, a lot is expected from you. And that being the case, your attitude should change, your disposition should change, your commitment should change, and most importantly, your loyalty should never be in doubt. Now, let's quickly look at the career path of the civil servant, particularly the administrative officer. Yes, we know that you start on grade level 8 and move to grade level 17. But I must quickly add here that there is no guarantee that all of you here will get to grade level 17. Not because you are not capable, not because you are not competent, not because your bosses do not like your faces. But we must bear in mind, and we must know this as administrative officers, that promotions are made based on eligibility and vacancy. Is that okay? Eligibility and vacancy. So there is nothing in our books that say once you have done 4 years on level 16, you must move automatically to 17. Yes, you are eligible, but there is no vacancy. So it's not a guarantee that all of you that started today on grade level 09, 10 will get to grade level 17. Because the system has graded you people based on your seniority, on the date on which you arrived at your various salary grade levels. And so there may be 50 of you on grade level 10, but the order of seniority will have somebody who is the most senior. The most senior will always be one person. Is that not so? Even though 50 of you on grade level 17, the second person will always be one person, down to the 50th person. Now, if there are only 3 vacancies in grade level 17, will the 50 of you be promoted? No, let's look at it. Will the 50 of you be promoted? Will even 10 of you be promoted? Will even 4 of you be promoted? Only 3 people will be promoted. But the fact remains that these three people that will be promoted may not necessarily be the three most senior people. This is where competence and your performance comes in. Is that okay? So if the number one person has a very bad annual performance evaluation report, not fit for promotion, not performance 5. He has performance 5, promotability 3. Will anybody promote him? No. We will look for the second person, isn't it? If the second person has good reports, he will be promoted. Now what has happened is that the number one person has been superseded. And people hear that word before. Normally, we don't encourage supersession in the civil service, except when there is a good reason for it. Are you with me? So, if the number one person he doesn't need to have 1-1, that is performance excellent, promotion excellent. If his report is good, is that okay? He will be promoted. Even if the number 10 person has a better report than he does, he will not be promoted in place of that number one who has a good report. At least he is adjudged to be competent. So all of you bear that in mind, will not end up as grade level 17 officers. But at the same time, it is very important in your career, very early in your career too, that you begin to prepare yourself for leadership positions. And like one of the earlier speakers said, you must behave like a leader. You must behave in your various offices to be noticed. Not noticed as a gossip, not noticed as a talebearer, not noticed as a rumor monger, not noticed as a divisive person, but noticed as a competent, diligent person. If you come to work early, people will notice that you come to work early. If files are come to your table, you treat them immediately. Files don't sleep 1 week, 2 weeks on your table. What will happen? People will notice it. So I want to urge you that you must make conscious efforts to be noticed. Not in a negative manner. Conscious efforts to be noticed in terms of your productivity, in terms of your zeal for the work, in terms of your initiative, in terms of your capacity. Don't be indifferent. Government work, they're not a carrier for head and for shoulder. If it's too heavy, I bend my shoulder, it will fall. You won't go far. Remember, I told you at the beginning of this lecture that you are a class of people. Many people are watching. Head of service, various permanent secretaries, unlike your professionals, colleagues. So I want you to adopt that strategy. Do something to be noticed. Do something that is good. Do something that is commendable. They give you money to go and buy stationery instead of supplies in the office. You go there, instead of buying 3 packets, you buy 2. And 2 people will not know. When you buy those 2, when you buy the stationery, where do you take it to? Take it to the store, exactly. They see the damage you are going to do to your integrity. You will tell the storekeeper, you now 3 days buy, but I bought only 2. The money will come out for the table, take this 1,000 naira. What will the storekeeper do? He will accept and say it. But are you sure that the storekeeper will keep quiet? Are you sure he will keep quiet? The storekeeper will not keep quiet. So. The storekeeper will sell you out. And this quickly reminds me of some things that we do. Your permanent secretary or head of service sends for you. He asks his messenger to go and call you. And then the messenger gets to your office to call you. And in the presence of the messenger, you are saying, this woman or this organo will let me rest. How many times will call me for one day? The last time they call Mojari. You are looking for trouble. You know what this messenger will do? I've experienced it. The messenger will go back to the boss and say, if it's a woman that is the boss, Madam Oga, be careful of that man, he will not like you. When I go tell her, say they call her, if you hear all the things where you talk, Funky business with any staff below you. You should be like Caesar's wife above board. So if you criticize your boss in the presence of your juniors, your boss will hear and you'll be in trouble. By then you'll be saying, I don't know waiting I do this madam or waiting you do this organ. But now you take your hand, find trouble. As an admin officer, you must also be aware that besides the rules and regulations, there are a number of conventions, traditions, and norms in the civil service. And we expect you, as administrative officers, to know. When your boss walks into the office, what do? You stand up. When your boss sends for you and you get into the office and the visitor's chair is in front of his table, what do? Some of you will just pull the chair and sit down. You have irritated your boss. You should first of all stand up. No, please sit down. Then you sit down. When you are climbing the staircase and your boss is coming, you struggle the staircase with him or her. You will stand by the side now, let him pass. We are not punishing you. Your time will also come. And if you didn't do it to your seniors, will your juniors do it to you? No. So, in every organization, discipline is very, very critical. And so some of these things, we are not doing them to dehumanize you. We did them in our own time. Did it prevent us from becoming whom we are? No. Because at the end of the day, all these things matter. When your annual performance evaluation report is being written, go and look at it again. Relationship with your colleagues. If you are very quarrelsome, will your boss call you high? Relationship with the members of the public. If every day in the office, your PS is getting one complaint or the other, will he call you high? Appearance. You come to the office unkempt, your body odor is something else, your PS can't stand it, say, please go, I will come back later. Appearance, will this call you high? Or you wear a white shirt, the collar is brown, very dirty. Will this call you high? I've noticed that some of you are beginning to wear beards now. Appearance, if I was still in the service, I will call you low. I saw one or two men on PS here. No. We must be clean shaven. Is that okay? Like some of you here, shave all the beard, yeah? And then more so when you leave it, and then it becomes white. For some of us, it was okay, this man is due to retire, make you go. Yeah? Then, another critical factor in our annual performance evaluation report, acceptance of responsibility. Your boss calls you and says, do this. And your reply is, oh God, this is not my schedule. Or, I'm sorry, sir, but this is not my schedule. Not once, not twice, not 3 times. Your boss knows that this is not your schedule, but he or she believes that you can do it faster because it's urgent. But your response is, this is not my schedule. Acceptance of responsibility, will this call you high? Foresight. There's a point there, foresight. There is nothing that you do. As an admin officer, you are the office manager. Office is dirty, premises dirty, dustbin is full, you see it every day and you pass. Foresight, will this call you high? No. You take a minutes of meeting, which is supposed to be ready within 48 hours. 1 week after, your PS is still waiting for that report. Performance, will this call you high? Or like the PS who spoke to you, Mrs. Agar said, they ask you to draft something. Your draft is so bad that the PS or head of service has to rewrite what you wrote. Performance, will this call you high? No. So all these things we are saying, we are not saying it for the fun of it. We are saying it because we believe that these are the things that will enable you to move up in the civil service and get to where you are destined to go. Some of you are destined to go very high, but you kill your destiny by being lazy and by not being satisfied that you are an admin officer. That's why I asked you, are you all content being administrative officers now? And you have all said yes. That is very, very critical. You will tell yourself that this is what I want to do. This is the job I want to do. Come rain, sunshine, this is the job I want to do. Not that you are here and you are wishing that you are a shell worker or a bank worker or an NDDC worker and so on and so forth. Once you have made up your mind that this is what you want to do, you will do it and do it well. A laborer abroad is happy with his job. He finds peace and contentment. That is the difference between a laborer here and a laborer abroad. Because the laborer here is wishing that he was the governor. Meanwhile, you didn't go to school, you don't have any certificate, you have not done any other thing in your life. How will that be possible? So, my dear admin officers, what we are saying now is not rocket science. What I'm telling you now is just copy and pasting. I have not said anything that you don't know. But the challenge we have is, at times, you get carried away, or at times, you become indifferent, or at times, you begin to lie or rely on primordial ties. Oh, the governor is my brother. The head of service is my brother. The PS is my sister. Anything I do, I will get off. Who told you so? Or, I know the commissioner. The commissioner will override the PS or the head of service. Who told you so? Who writes your APA report? Is it your commissioner? Is not your commissioner. So if you've come join this administrative group with a mindset of working against your PS or your director, as far as the commissioner is concerned, you are making a mistake. Because it is your director and your PS and head of service that will assess your performance. I have never seen where a commissioner or a governor wrote any APA for anybody. And even if it happens, nobody will accept it. Because if you look at our public service rules and civil service commission regulations, officers who are listed in those rules, that is why we say you must know these things, who are listed in those rules, who oversee the implementation of those rules and regulations are the head of service, your head of department, who is the permanent secretary, your director. There is no space, there is nowhere in that civil service rule, if you find it, where they have assigned a role to the governor, commissioner, deputy governor, as far as it relates to personnel matter, come to me, I will forfeit my January salary. So don't be carried away by such distractions. Discipline yourself and have that mindset that if you do what you are supposed to do, nothing will happen to you. But if you do what you are not supposed to do, you will be punished. Behave like adults. Realize that there is a consequence for every action, good or bad, that you take. And once you have that as your motto, you will not have any problem, and the sky will be your limit. Of course, nobody expects you, even though I said you cannot get, not all of you will get to level 17. Nobody, even I myself talking to you, even the head of service who is here, does not expect that you will remain at this level. Is that not so? At least, even if we don't like you, when I go earn 2, 3, 4 promotions, at least, before you retire. Not so. Okay. Now, these promotions do not just happen. You must perform. You must carry out your duties. So let us look at the functions of the administrative officer. Now, I have told you initially, because when we say, oh, writing minutes, processing annual leave and so on, people might say, we don't need administrative officers now, anybody can do it. But the total package of what we are saying is what we said earlier on, that the administrative functions involves planning. In any establishment where there is no planning, what are we going to aim for? Failure. It requires organizing. Where there is no organization, what are we going to have? Chaos. It requires staffing. Where there is no staff, the work will not be done. Directing, coordinating, reporting. After we have done everything, we must report. And it is normally the admin officers who produce these reports. Even in professional ministries, the professionals will write the reports and then they will send it to administration department to collate the reports into the reports of the office or ministry, department or agency. So what we are going to do now in looking at the functions is to break down these things into what each and every one of you as an administrative officer is required to do, so that these broad perspectives which I are giving you earlier on will take place. Now you are expected to be collecting and interpreting data for use by senior officers. Data on number of officers in a particular position. If you're asking how many engineers are in Ministry of Works, we're not going to ask the Department of Civil Engineering. We are going to ask the Department of Administration because we expect that you should have these records if you are doing your job. So you collect this information, you interpret them. Now, if there are only 5 civil engineers in Ministry of Works, and you just write 5 civil engineers, you have not done anything. You should tie it to number of vacancies. If there are only 5 engineers and there are, for instance, 50 vacancies, how will you interpret that to your boss? 5 engineers, 50 vacancies, how will you interpret it? The ratio between the number of engineers we have and the vacancies, how will you interpret it? All things being equal, one of the things you can say is that you think that department is understaffed. Is that also? You are now interpreting the data. Provided that in identifying the vacancies, a thorough job was done. And who is supposed to do that thorough job is the admin department. Now, you are also required to be making submissions to your bosses, preparing draft letters on specific issues, preparing minutes of meetings, serving as secretary of various boards and committees, boards of inquiry, boards of survey. You are, as an admin officer, there must always be an admin officer, and he should be the secretary. You prepare maintenance and repairs of vehicles, office equipment. All those are admin functions. Managing staff matters, leave, promotion, training, retirement, etc. All those are your duties. And when you come to these managing staff matters, each of them has a rule guiding it. And that's why we keep on emphasizing that you must be familiar with the rules and regulations. Leave. Is everybody in the civil service entitled to 30 days leave? No. And note that leave is 30 working days, not 30 days. There's a difference between 30 days and 30 working days. What's the difference? And all of you are talking, I can't hear you. Yes. When you say 30 working days, it means you are including both Saturday and Sunday. 30 working days excludes Saturdays, Sundays, even public holidays. In contrast to annual leave is maternity leave. Maternity leave is 90 working days. In other words, we count both Saturday, Sunday. Now, never you, as an admin officer, take an action on verbal instructions. Then, like Adebayo, the man who I quoted, told us, he cited cases of administrative officers who misunderstood certain instructions for necessary action. FNA. It doesn't give you that meaning, doesn't give you the the instruction to act on your own without clearance, depending on the issue. And he gave an example. Somebody wrote a letter to the PS requesting that they wanted to have an audience with the PS. And the PS pleaded for necessary action. You know what this young admin officer did? He just took out his pen and biro and wrote straight to the people that I'm directed to refer to your letter and to inform you that the permanent secretary has approved to grant you audience on Wednesday, so and so, time, so and so, venue, office, and put away the file. Is that what he should have done? No. So as admin officers, you must always put in the thinking cap. Who was the person to grant the audience? Was it you? No. Was your peers? So you are expected to go and find out from the peers the convenient time and date for the meeting. So for necessary action did not mean that you should just take your pen and paper and convey whatever you wanted to write. Then, finally, as an administrative officer, it is possible for you to be deployed to other duties other than administrative duties. When the service used to do the service, I'm sure Tesla can tell me out. And head of service, please note. Protocol officers were mostly what? Admin officers. Who is saying no? Tesla, is that true or false? Admin officer protocol is our tough. And that is why I'm happy that a lecture on etiquette is going to be delivered here. And this is one of the reasons why we still believe that we are the elite class. When you are admin officer protocol, for instance, what happens? You are likely to see the governor once or twice in a month. And if the governor is a very friendly person, he is likely to know you. Is that not so? Yeah? Which other people will not have the privilege of. But when you are in that office, can you afford to go late to work? Can you afford to be disobedient? Can you afford to gossip about the governor? Yeah. Admin officers also can be deployed as investment officers in Ministry of Finance, can also be deployed as planning officers in Ministry of Economic Planning, can also be deployed as appraisal officers in the State Tenders Board. This is because we have said initially that you are a generalist, not jack of all trades, generalist. And so even when you are in the State Tenders Board, you are processing papers for the construction of a flyover bridge. Do you know anything about flyover bridge? But the point is that people who know have sent the raw details to you, and you are now the one going to present it in a form that it will be considered at the State Tenders Board meeting. You must also have this thing in mind. Don't be in a hurry to dispose of files that come to you. Don't also be lackadaisical. Don't over-delay. When a file comes to you, don't be content with only treating the most current matter. That is the last page of the letter, of the file. Read backwards. When you read backwards, you will gain some knowledge. And like I told you, nothing is new. You may even find out how a similar matter that has been brought before you now was resolved in the past. Not so. In a hurry to read that file, the thing just comes, you read it, you think, what will I say? I made a not start to hate this file. You just write something and submit. Which officer would have written a better proposal? Because these things we are talking about, you didn't learn them in the university. Did you learn them? So which officer would have written a better memo? The one who just looked at the last paper in the file and treated, or the person who painstakingly read back? And they say, this thing, they don't treat them before. You just go and lift where the thing went either to the governor or to the head of service or to your PS, and your PS wrote approved, or governor wrote approved, and you write the same thing. And modify where necessary. So it is not rocket science. What this means, therefore, is that all admin officers are desk officers. Are you with me? Contrary to field office, you must always be on your table or your seat. The only time you leave your seat is either when you are going for school run or you are going to attend a meeting. You must always be a desk officer. It gives you time to reason and to think. You are not a field officer, you are a desk officer. And being a desk officer, you must always be on your desk. You must always read files. Even if there is no work for you to do, go to the registry, call for a file, and begin to read it. They say you are in charge of promotion. Let them give you all the files of promotions in the past. You will see the things, how they have been done, and you will follow suit. You are not likely to make any mistake, and you're not likely to write a memo or a minute that will be considered stupid. Finally, we must always be courteous in our letters and in our minutes. And that is why at the end of most of our minutes we say please. So you on level 10 office, 10 and 9 officers, when you are writing to your subordinates, write to them courteously. Don't abuse them. In all my years in the civil service, no matter how stupid the performance of an officer is, I have never seen any minute where a superior officer abused a subordinate officer in writing. You Gen Zs, don't do that, please. You bloody fool, you should have known better. No, now. No, now. Even if the officer has done something wrong, you should correct him or her politely. And at times, the way you commend your subordinate officers will encourage them. If you write a memo, for instance, and the head of service approves that memo and makes a little remark, thank you for the good submission, how would you feel? You will feel very happy. And with that small comment, she has boosted your morale. You say, a small man like me or small girl like me, please write me a prayer of service line. And I will say, you will exercise more zeal. And this was how some of us were trained. When we write, I say, very good submission, keep it up. Even though the man has corrected every line, but the point is that he did not have to rewrite it. It becomes bad when your boss has to rewrite what you have written. But if it's that he has corrected a few lines, your boss is happy about it because you have made his work easier. So when these little commendations instill confidence and enables us to perform our duties. Now, one last thing I will say is that you people should also engage in self-development. How many of you read Pointer newspaper? When we talk about this self-development, we're not talking about things in the air. All admin officers must form the habit of listening to the news. DPS at 5 p.m. Listen. 6:30 a.m. You will hear what the governor is doing, what we are thinking of. You will hear what the head of service said and where she went to. Pointer newspaper, read it. Vanguard newspaper, read it. One or two magazines, read it. And then, finally, as an admin officer, you must have a dictionary by your side. At times you want to write the word commitment. You are no longer sure whether it is 1M or 2M. Say, my boss will correct them. You write 1M. Or you write 2. But if you had a dictionary, what will you do? You check your dictionary. It is even made easier now. If you have your phones, you go to Google. Spell commitment, write it 2 times. It will tell you the one that is correct. So, admin officers, a lot is expected from you. We can tolerate engineer language. We can tolerate doctor language. We can tolerate pharmacist language. But your own language must be in Queen's English. Correct, clear, precise, and straight to the point. Calls for a lot of challenge on your part. Now, to be an administrative officer, you must exhibit certain qualities which you have heard in what the head of service said and what Mrs. Agas said. You must be an epitome of the core values of the service, namely anonymity, impartiality, and neutrality. Now, in one seminar I went to, some junior officers were saying, no, they don't like this anonymity issue. If I write a speech and the governor reads the speech I wrote word for word, why shouldn't they give me the credit? I said, okay, if you write a bad speech and the governor goes to read it word for word, and the government is being criticized, will you come out and say you wrote that speech? You won't come out now. To defend what we have said, is that okay? But if we say everybody pay your papa name, then the man who wrote that bad speech, we shall sue for the person. And you know, for making the governor, for instance, read a bad speech, if they ask any PS to set up a disciplinary panel, what do you think we will recommend? Dismissal is different from writing a bad speech that the PS wrote or the director wrote. So you are supposed to be, to be seen, not heard. Then, of course, you must be neutral and impartial. Don't treat a file because the person is from your ethnic group or the person is a member of your church or a school member. And every file that you treat, they not only doctors that are handling issues of life and death. You too, as an admin officer, you handle issues of life and death. A woman is due to go on maternity leave and you have delayed the file because she's not from your ethnic group. Why? Somebody has a pressing problem and needs to go on leave, and you are delaying the file. Because when you were in primary school, see how man's mind works. Because when you were in primary school, his mother was the headmistress, and one day she flogged you so much that please, we don't expect that kind of behavior from admin officers. You should be a good communicator who should be able to speak fluently and write lucidly. Now, as you are here now, always avoid a situation in which you will be caught unawares. As you are here now, for instance, you can be called upon to say, okay, lead us in opening prayer. So when you are coming to an occasion like this, you'll be thinking, assuming they call me to say the opening prayer. If you have thought about it, when you now handle the microphone, are you not likely to do well? Or you could be asked to come and say the closing prayer. Or you could be asked to come and give the vote of thanks. Practice all these things. So whenever you are coming out to an outing like this, always imagine, okay, this is what happens in such seminar. Assuming I am now called to do it, what do I say? And once you have thought about it, you will not be caught unawares. And I'll tell the chairman of this forum, in such gatherings, please don't give any admin officer prior notice. Just look around. And at times when you are looking around, you will find the ones who are a little bit frightened. Either they will bend their head down, or they will be pretend to be looking at their phone, pick one of those people. Because when we were in school, when the teacher is teaching, and they ask a question, who knows the answer? You see people jumping. I know it, everybody is jumping, everybody is jumping. And the chair is okay, those of you who know it, I won't ask you. Let me ask those who don't know. Of course, those who don't know, don't know. Then one day the teacher changed her strategy. The teacher, I know, teacher, me. It's okay, you answer it. He couldn't answer it. So, chairman, that's what you do. Look at their faces. Those who are bending their faces or smiling or pick one of them, you'll find out that an admin officer should be an encyclopedia of the rules and regulations. We have said this several times, and we will never be tired of saying it. Because in any organization where there are no rules or regulations, what you will have is anarchy, isn't it? What you will have is impunity. If there was no rule about leave, for instance, if your newspaper comes, if I like your face, arbitrariness, I'll say, okay, go on 10 days leave. Days. Whether you are my son or my daughter or my grandchild, will I give you more than 30 days working leave? So we keep on emphasizing these rules and regulations. Because the civil service is a bureaucratic organization, a large organization. And the only way we can operate is that each person is given his space, guided by rules and regulations. If it becomes might or strength is right, some of you here know what we cope now. Maybe the men will overpower the women, but the women I'm seeing here are looking so well fed and strong, and the men are looking so lean. I'm sure the men will overpower them. But the point is that there are rules and regulations. must exhibit leadership traits. That is what your schedule of duty demands of you. Office manager, admin officer, and you go to the office premises, everywhere is dirty. You don't care. Who will already, anybody can notice that the admin people in this office are not doing their work, no matter what the challenges are. All the vehicles are broken down. Yes, so government hasn't given us money, but why should all the vehicles break down? So we expect that in performing some of these your duties, you should have goodwill. The goodwill is that when government was releasing money, you were going to a particular mechanic and he was repairing these vehicles and you were paying him. Paying him his full what? Not saying office will take 10%, madam will take 10%. Pay. You think that when you appeal to that kind of person that look, we have this challenge, we don't have money yet, but money will come. Help us fix this small one. You think he will not do it? He will do it. He will do it. So as admin officers, one thing you must have in abundance is goodwill. You must have an impeccable, pleasant disposition and temperament, both to your juniors and senior colleagues. And of course, you must be computer literate. That one, we are not going to compromise it at all. How many of you here are computer literate? Okay, how many of you are not computer literate? Nobody will answer head of service, particularly as you are here.
Not fully 3, not 4, 5, okay, 6, 7. All right,
Okay, let me punish them for that. Please, those 5 people that have written their names, let one of the executive members of this group take down their names. Those 5 members, take down the names of the 5 people. So it is presumed that all of you here, except these 5 people, are computer literate. We shall take down the names of those of you who are computer literate. And head of service, like you were saying, you will call 2 or 3 of them to your office and give them a computer assignment and see how they will perform. But talking more seriously, you must all be computer literate. At least the basic things. Yeah? Because these days that we are talking paperless, paperless what? Paperless offices. You won't be writing in files and anything anymore. It's going to be computer. And like the head of service was saying, if peradventure tomorrow we now adopt exams for promotion in the Delta State Civil Service, the examinations are going to be computer based. So it is important, don't wait until it becomes too late. Go now and begin to learn it, because it is good for your job. And let me tell you this, for any person now who is not computer literate, you are more or less an illiterate. Because what happens is that everything you want to do, you now go to the cyber center, or what is it? And then they type all your private and official documents. And when they finish typing, you are begging the woman, I beg delete it from your system, or you don't delete it. But it's not deleted, it is there. But what I say you are illiterate is that things you would have wanted to be confidential between you and the next person becomes an open secret. Now, in the old days, how do our illiterate mothers write letter? They will call the letter writer also, and then begin to tell the letter writer what to write. Things you would have wanted to be confidential between her and her daughter. What happens? The letter writer knows all about it. So we must all be computer literate. It is very, 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 very important. Now, as you are seated here, the sky is your limit. But in your work environment, there can be somebody who is always putting you on edge, making you angry, trying to provoke you. This now brings me to the pitfalls that every administrative officer, indeed every civil servant must avoid and must avoid. Fighting in the civil service is not allowed. But I've never heard of that, and I want to emphasize it. Don't fight. Because if you fight, the offense or the penalty will be very grievous for both the aggressor and the non-aggressor. If there's anything like that, don't fight. There's always a way of settling disputes. Administrative officers must not engage in idle talks or gossips. In fact, when I was in my early days in the civil service as a young officer, at times when we are not too busy, we will come out to the veranda and be talking and gisting and laughing. And our PS will pass us. And he was not happy about that, but he did not tell us. Now, when it came to writing our reports, our immediate boss gave us very good reports. For him to endorse, he asked, is it those young men I always see on the corridor, gossiping and engaging in idle talk, that you are giving these good reports? The man said, the officers are good, the officers are good. The PS reluctantly endorsed. What am I saying? There is no time for you for unnecessary relaxation as an admin officer. That is, you come out on the corridor and you are talking, or your PS is passing your office and it's a chit chat box. Everybody is just talking, making noise. You are desk officers. Sit down and do your work. We appreciate that the only perfect being is God. We can tolerate one or two things, but let it be a one-off thing. Let it not be a future by which we shall know you. I have said it, don't take any action in anticipation of approval from your boss. Your boss can approve something today, and then a similar thing comes up tomorrow, and say, well, she approved it or he approved it today. He can approve this same one, so it's a lie. The circumstances may be different. And you don't know too if your boss had a regret for approving that thing. So when it comes again, he or she may not want to approve it. You should not, by your conduct or attitude, earn a derogatory nickname in place of your real name. There are some people who have derogatory nicknames as against their real names. Can you express of them in Igbo? Olakamaya. Know what Olakamaya means? Somebody who drinks too much. Olakamaya Nabiao, Olakamaya Neko. Some of us have earned such derogatory nicknames in the service. or that man, anytime they wear white shirts, it is always brown. In white, not they see am. So we must this man with his body odor. Waiting in the fine here again. So you must always be clean, looking good all the time. Do not look down on your boss. That is the quickest way to fail. When we were younger officers, we used to think, this man has also FNA, right? Maybe he don't know what thing to do. It is not true. So when your boss sends you a file and puts FNA, your presumption is your boss doesn't know what to do. He wants to tap from your knowledge. It's not true. And when you have that kind of mindset, you become arrogant. Is that not so? Yes. Okay. For me, as a boss, I would prefer an average, obedient, manageable officer to an highly intelligent, arrogant, and self-conceited officer. Are you getting the point? No, you come, you are bragging. Or maybe you know me when I was growing up. I could hardly eat egg in my house when we were growing up. Your father was a healthy, wealthy man, he took you to school. But today I am your boss. What do you do? Don't be arrogant. Don't let that disease of arrogance capture you in your workplace. Don't lobby for posting or refuse to comply with legitimate posting instructions. I know that in my days in the service, it was quite attractive working in protocol department in governor's office. In Benin, I was in public service matters department, and one of our colleagues was anxious to go and work in protocol duty, protocol in government house, and he wangled his way and went to protocol. And on this fateful day, there was a swearing-in event, and this our friend took the microphone. I don't know what happened to him. JT Hussein was our governor there. He didn't remember the governor's initials. He called him another thing. He didn't remember the names of the people who were being sworn in. He didn't remember the position. And for those of you who had any experience with JT Hussein, he was a no-nonsense man. Say, SLG, where did you get this man from? He's dismissed. That was how he lost his appointment. But if we had remained in PSM where we were, he would not have this kind of challenge. So please, don't lobby for posting and don't refuse posting. Instead, what you should struggle to do as an admin officer is that you must have a schedule of duty. HOS. Some of my admin officers complain that they don't have schedule of duty. You must have a schedule of duty, and that is what will guide you. In my years in the civil service, I worked only in one executive ministry. And it was when we came to Delta State, Ministry of Power and Energy. The other places where I worked in Benin and Asaba were in governor's office, administration, personnel. When we came to Delta, I worked as private secretary to a Dosian. Then we were appointed permanent secretary. I went to local government. From local government, I went to Kuru. From Kuru, I I came back, I was posted to establishments. I stayed 8 years in establishments before I was posted to Ministry of Energy, and then from there I was made head of service. Now, what I'm saying is this: don't get carried away with what people tell you are lucrative ministries. If you have a schedule of duty, even if it is to approve leave, and you do it diligently and honestly, you will have established some goodwill. How do I mean? You approve a maternity leave for a female officer whose husband is a big man. That is not the reason why you approve the maternity leave. And the woman goes home and says, this is my director of admin or work. He's a very good man. He approved this leave for me. He didn't take one cover. He didn't ask me for anything. He delayed this thing. We must go and show him appreciation. Those kind of things happen. Just for having a schedule of duty, just approving leave in establishments. So what I'm saying is that once you have a schedule and you do that schedule diligently, you have established some goodwill for yourself, and that goodwill will carry you far. Everybody cannot be a Ministry of Works. Everybody cannot be a Ministry of Health. Everybody cannot be in an executive ministry. Just have a schedule of duty, do something, do it well. You will establish some goodwill, and you will not go empty-handed at the end of the day. Not undertake a schedule which is not your own. This is different from acceptance of responsibility. When your boss asks you to do something, yes, do it. But when there is a matter that should be handled by your colleague who is a schedule officer, and you go and grab it from the registry because you think that after doing it, you will get some benefits. No, you are wrong. Don't do a schedule that is not your own. Because when you get into trouble, people will ask you, but why did you undertake that responsibility when it is not your own? Hobnobbing with politicians. In fact, there is one of the unwritten rules in the civil service that as civil servants, you should not go to the office of your commissioner. But that is not to say that your commissioner cannot send for you directly. What we are encouraged to do is that when your commissioner sends for you directly, you should let your peers know. Excuse me, that the commissioner is asking for you. No peers will say don't go. Then the commissioner says go and do so and so thing, verbal instruction. When you come back, you will tell your peers that this is what the commissioner has asked you to do. You go back to your office, reduce it into writing through your peers to your commissioner. Now, if we all establish these character traits, then there will be no inclination for any commissioner to undermine the permanent secretary. And that is the reason for conflict in many ministries or departments. So if all commissioners know that, for instance, any civil servant where you call, you don't want the PS to know, you get a message, the civil servant will go tell PS. They will not continue with it. But what happens is that some of us sideline the PS too, or sideline our boss and deal directly with the commissioner. And when there is a problem, the commissioner will deny you. Now, you should be loyal to your employer. Yes. And our employer is the Delta State government. You should not act as a spy or agent of espionage to leak official secrets or documents to your church members, club members, relations, and so on. In fact, there is a secret oath that we are all supposed to take. Head of service, if we can introduce it, that would be good. You should not divulge any government secret to anybody who is not entitled to know. But the story I heard is that when our workers are coming to work from Ibuzo, for instance, and you are in a public transport, all that you do is to take one of your buses or the system and dissect it. And you are not the only people there. There are also non-civil servants there. That's a very bad trait. Of course, you must all strive to be good family men and women. Because if the home front is not at peace, your productivity will be negatively affected. In fact, there is this theory, work balance, work family balance. You must strike a balance. Nobody is going to praise you that you spend 15 hours in the office. And before you left home, you know that your wife or your husband or your child was not feeling fine. You didn't ask about them throughout the office period. You didn't go home to check up on them. 4 o'clock has reached, you refuse to go home. What kind of work are you doing? And you want to go back to that house and find peace. Of course, you will not find peace. You will not sleep well. You will not be happy. And your productivity will be very, 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 very poor. Now, you must also take care of your health. Sorry, I'm not a doctor and a few other things. Women, you should do mammogram, pap smear, this. Don't wait until you break down. And avoid self-medication. All ache in the pain is not headache. It could be the symptom of a more serious ailment. And then let us avoid all these social media doctors. You pluck guava leaf, you wash it, you drink it, it will cure every disease. You take soursop leaf, you boil it and drink it as tea. You will not have cancer. If it was as easy as that, I know some people who have been doing these things since they were born, they would have lived forever. Finally, let every day in the office be like your last day in that office. In other words, never leave undone what you should do today till tomorrow. All the fires, read them. Even if you can't read the flyer, look through it. If it's not an urgent matter, you can leave it for the following day. All files sent to you must be kept on top of your table. If you are seeing a file, you are more likely to treat it one day than those ones of us will open our drawer and put on our table. It's a matter, and you are likely to forget about that file. And always do the most difficult task first before you do the easier ones. Which is easier to do? To examine a matter or to write a letter of reminder. It's easier to write a letter of reminder, not so. But that shouldn't be the priority assignment when you come. Do that difficult, then towards the end of the day, when you are getting tired, do those simple ones. Write letter of reminder. I am directed to refer to my letter of so, to which there has been no reply, and to request for a favor of an urgent reply. How many minutes has that taken you? But when you have to examine a matter, read a number of documents before you start writing. You shouldn't defend that one. So do the most difficult tasks first, and then do the easier ones later. By saying that the theme of this orientation workshop is who is an administrative officer. I have tried to address the theme within the context of the Delta State Civil Service and from my personal experience in the service. Obviously, the term administrative officer goes beyond the holder of a career post in the civil service, which is pensionable, and this also applies to other positions in the service. So an administrative officer is just an employee in the Delta State Civil Service on pensionable appointment. He is an employee in the administrative officer's cadre. It thus becomes necessary to examine the theme within the context in which the seminar is being held, both from the perspective of the organizers and participants. Of major concern to both parties, I presume, is how should a newly recruited, transferred administrative officer conduct himself or herself with a view to being highly productive, and having entered the cadre, what should he or she do to get to the top? It is against this background that I have looked into the journey to becoming an administrative officer in the state civil service, the career path of an administrative officer, qualities of an administrative officer, and pitfalls to avoid. The success as an administrative officer, for purposes of emphasis, requires early mastery of rules and regulations, strong work ethic and dedication, continuous learning and adaptation, integrity and professional conduct. And your goal, your objective should be to acquire those traits as listed therein that will make you a quintessential administrative officer. Aim to be the best. Aim to be noticed. Not to be noticed for distractive reasons. If you're a female officer, when you are working, you are doing catwalk to be noticed. That's not the kind of notice I want you to be noticed. It is to be effective, efficient, and determined to succeed. To be the best, it is not a crime. Tell yourself here that of all these people here, I am going to be the best admin officer. Charge yourself. Push yourself. Be determined. Have a schedule. Like the head of service said, if you don't have a schedule, create a schedule. Some of you will say, the only schedule I have is approving leave. If that is your schedule, take it in good faith. Don't be proactive, be active. You come at the beginning of the year, you cause a circular letter to be issued to all staff in Ministry of Health, that is where you are. Request for application for leave, that all officers who intend to go for leave this year should indicate the months they want to go. You can even add that leave will not be approved for during December, so nobody will go on leave in December. They send all those applications to you. You begin to process them. You will give some the days they have requested, you will give others other days that are convenient. Clear the thing from the permanent secretary and issue another circular. so and so, this is the time. Is that not more than enough work? And then you begin to analyze this request. Why do many people want to go on leave in March? Why do many people want to go on leave in April? Why doesn't anybody want to go on leave in January? You make all those, are you not busy? Please, are you not busy? But if your own is just to sit down, Ms. Ofili wants to write, go on leave, I write, you process. Are you working? So let us try and be proactive, not reactionary. You are waiting for matters to come. So all admin officers, work out a schedule for yourself and clear it with your boss. So from this seminar, I also want you to go away with the belief that it will now be an offense in the Delta State Civil Service for any admin officer to say that he doesn't have a schedule. Thank you for listening.
Standing ovation. Please continue to put your hands together until